Howdy friends, I'm Cabe, and welcome to Classic Azeroth. So I want to discuss some of the early impressions of Druid PvP in a 1v1 capacity. Now before I do, I want to mention that PvP is much more robust than just 1v1 duels, so this is going to be highlighting only a single aspect of what PvP can be. Also, I'm not claiming to be some top performing druid, so you'll see me making some mistakes in the footage in the background, and the random people I might be dueling may or may not be playing their classes properly. I really can't say, but this is just the most honest first impressions I could get of what druid PvP is like. But with that said, I want to just say how much I love druids in PvP. I enjoy how they have such a wide variety of playstyles that they can incorporate against various classes. For example, the way you would fight a warrior is very different than how you'd fight a mage, and both of those are drastically different than how you'd fight a shaman. So as a druid, you might have to use the different fighting styles in order to get an upper hand against the other classes. Like take for example this rogue I'm dueling. I will never duel a rogue in cat form for very long, and the reason is, as you commonly hear, druids are the jack of all trades, master of none. If I approach this rogue in cat form, he's gonna be a better rogue than I am. He's got Vanish, he has got Kidney Shot, he's got Blind, and a lot of abilities that I don't have anything to compare to. And so if I approach him as a cat, he's gonna beat me. He's a better rogue than I am. Same way with a warrior. If I'm gonna go in against a warrior, I'm gonna have to have a better approach than just being bear form the whole time. Because if I'm trying to play like a warrior, well, he's gonna be a better warrior and beat me. And I'm certainly not going to go against him as cat form, because a warrior versus a cat rogue, the fight's in the favor of the warrior. So in order to beat that warrior, I found that I need to be using as many casts as I can to kind of perform like a mage. And I say mage just because it's well known that mages counter warriors pretty hard, warriors counter rogues pretty hard, and rogues counter mages pretty hard. You know, you kind of get that paper, rock, scissors going. So you've got to kind of think about what class you're up against, what beats them, and then try to play as that role. That's the only way you're going to get an upper hand against these classes that are more fine-tuned than you are in their various roles. So what I found as I've been dueling different classes, for example against rogues, I don't want to sound overconfident here, but I found it to be a favorable matchup pretty much every time. If I play right and our gear's equal, I'm pretty sure I can 1v1 almost any rogue. You know, I say that, maybe there's some rogue out there that's going to make me eat my words, but every time I've tried it, it's been a very favorable matchup, and the real reason is because the ability Fairy Fire. That prevents a rogue from stealthing, vanishing, any of that, and they can't redo their combo if there's openers on you. So there's a lot of mistakes they can make that I can exploit, and I've found too that my ability to heal and switch to bear form, I have so much armor in bear form that their damage is greatly mitigated, so much so that my heals, I mean, you can see I'm dueling this rogue right now, I'm almost at full health through most of this fight. And he's having a very hard time. Like right now he's trying to run away so he can bandage or eat. Oh, it's not going to make a difference because I could beat him in the long term. I've got enough armor to handle his blows and regenerate mana and then just keep healing. It's not going to go in his favor, and he's not going to be stealthing anywhere. So against rogues, druids have a fantastic matchup as long as you're playing it right. Don't try to be a rogue against a rogue. You're going to lose that. But as a warrior or bear against a rogue goes a whole lot better, and be sure to be doing your form swapping so you can get heals off. I mean right now I blew Frenzy Regeneration because you can see how much damage he did even with my armor, but still wasn't enough. So I found rogues to be, I mean if I play correctly, I'm always going to be able to beat a rogue, provided they're not way out gearing me. When fighting a rogue, I found it works best to start off in stealth form, kind of position yourself a little bit better, switch out, pop a rejuvenation, and then go to bear form and try to bait him out with a demoralizing roar. You can see here that it works correctly. I was able to get him out, but even if you don't, let him open on you while you're in bear form. You just don't want him to catch you out of bear form, because you have enough armor, you have enough defenses that you'll survive his first hit. As soon as you can possibly get that Fairy Fire off, do it, because if you can slip it off just slightly, you might prevent his opening combo from doing like a Vanish or anything else. Really important to get that Fairy Fire off. And then when you do, just play the long game. He can't heal, you can. So try to pop off some heals here and there. If you can get a bash and then do a rejuvenation, fantastic. See, he's trying to eat. That's okay, because I'm going to beat him in the long run. If you can pop Frenzied Regeneration, and while he's in one of the combos, he's going to give you a lot of rage with all those hits, and you can regenerate a lot of health. This rogue does quite a bit of damage to me, even with all the armor I have, but I'm always able to out heal it, and I pretty much always had the approach of fight them in the long game. Because you can see here, he gets me pretty low, and I pop Nature's Swiftness and then a healing touch. I didn't need that. That was too much healing. I didn't necessarily need it, but it was enough to, keep me alive. So just stay in bear form as much as you can, and don't be afraid to let them open on you. So next, moving on to warriors. Again, I don't want to sound too overconfident here. I'm sure there's some warriors watching this video that would kick my trash, but I have found that if you play it right, they're a very favorable matchup, and the reason is you can kite them, you can keep them away from them. The big thing though is make sure you start off in cat form stealth, and then you get the opener so they don't have the charge option on you. Now, as soon as you get your dots off on them, switch to bear form because they're going to intercept you, and you want to make sure you're in bear form so you're taking their hits and with as much armor as possible. And then get out of it, keep kiting them, keep a distance on them, and let those dots tick. There's really not much a warrior can do about this because you're staying away, he doesn't have charge or intercept, and let that keep burning. See, he gets an intercept on me and does quite a bit of damage in those few hits, but go bear form, let the dots keep ticking, absorb the damage, and escape as you need to. The real danger though is when they start doing Moral Strike on you. I found it very useful to try to time my heals in between their Mortal Strikes, and the reason is Mortal Strike has a 10-second debuff that reduces healing by 50%, so if you try to heal through that, you're gonna waste a lot of mana for not a lot of health. But thankfully for you, Druids are a very slippery class. That warrior's gonna have to invest a lot of rage in Hamstring and Intercept in order to keep you in his melee range, so he's not always gonna have enough for Mortal Strike. So finding an opening where Mortal Strike debuff isn't on you is really not that hard, but as long as you do that, you're gonna give that warrior a very hard time. You can see in this fight though, my focus was to open up on him so he doesn't get that charge, let him intercept me while I'm in bear form, and he can get a few hits off on me. It's okay, I've already done more damage to him. Right now, I've clearly got more health, so I'm just going to stay in melee range, no problem. But when my dots come off, I can just slip away, let him waste his resources trying to catch me. Keep those dots on him, and then I pop a rejuvenation, and then back in bear form. And look at his health, it's already going down, way lower than mine. He's just not able to keep up with my damage because I'm able to go through his armor, he can't go through mine. And look at this, duel's already going in my favor. And we're equally geared too. I made sure everyone was of equal gear in these fights. He switches to a shield as a last desperate attempt, but then he's losing more damage and I'm still able to get through him. So when fighting against warriors, the three things to keep in mind is get the first hit, keep your dots on them because those are going to do the majority of your damage, and just stay in bear form whenever they're in melee range. The reason this is really important is because a warrior is going to deal a lot of damage to you. If you don't have that armor to tank it, you're going to find your health dropping a lot faster than his. This warrior was trying a lot of different tactics against me. I think he was trying to get some range so he could get out of combat and charge. Didn't really work because I'm faster than him. He does try to slip away and eat, which I commend him for because he's just trying different tactics. I dueled this warrior several times, and I actually appreciate him trying different tactics. But watch right here, he's got a one-handed weapon. I'm out of bear form. Look how much damage he can do to me in just a short amount of time with even a one-handed. If he had a two-hander, I'd actually be in a really rough situation. And I mean, look at that, he's already dealing quite a bit of damage. If I'm not in bear, and he had a two-handed, I'd probably be dead by now. So, burning him down, going really well. Look, I didn't really need Nature's Swiftness here, but I blew it anyway just to keep it safe. And after seeing me heal to full, he just decides to give up, which, fair enough. So anyway, I found this to be some useful tactics against warriors. Now on to mages. Now I found mages are a very different fight than rogues and warriors. Their damage goes through your armor, so you're not going to be playing the long game where you slowly peel them. No, they're going to do too much damage to you too quickly, so you want to play very counteractively. You do not want them to get a shatter on you. So when I'm frozen like this, I need to shift out right before they get a frostbolt on me, use that time to do some dots, and then shift back to cat form. Most of my damage is coming from cat form, because bear the armor's not is useless. The only reason I'm going to do bear is if I need to charge them. And so the goal against the mage is really just try to do as much damage as possible. Most of that will be done through cat form. One advantage you do have though is you're immune to polymorph effects when you're in cat or bear form, so you won't have to worry about that. Now I'm not going to pretend that druids are good against every class. We definitely have some more challenging matchups, especially against warlocks and shadow priest. Now shadow priest, I think I've kind of cracked the code, for lack of a better word, on how to beat them, because if you can survive their onslaught for long enough, they're going to run out of mana, and that's your chance to heal up and then burn them down. You actually, against Shadow Priest, you do want to play the long game because they don't have the mana to keep up for such a long time. Warlocks are different. I have found Warlocks to be the biggest counter to a Druid, and the reason is because there's not much I can do against fear. I mean, you can see I get feared right here. There's really nothing I can do about it except take the damage and try to heal up after. The best tactic against Warlocks though is to utilize Cat form and just try to do as much damage as possible. I wish I had a more elaborate tactic to share with you, but as of right now that's all I've got. Yes, you can cleanse a Warlock's curses though, but I've found that requiring to do so often isn't worth the mana cost of shapeshifting out of my Cat form, and unless I'm able to pop some rejuvenations or put some dots on the Warlock. Against their Voidwalker, they are able to sacrifice their demon and give themselves a powerful shield, and since you can't dispel, there's really nothing a druid can do about a bubble except try to deal enough damage to break it. I've also found that Fell Hunters are a pain to fight against because they're able to dispel magic on me, often even removing my regrowth or rejuvenation, which is critical heals that I need. I once even had one take off Nature's Swiftness before I was able to cast Healing Touch. Since I have those macroed, I'm not really sure how it happened, but it caused me to lose that duel. One advantage you do have though against a Warlock is that their Succubus Demon can't charge you while you're in Cat or Bear form because Charm only works on humanoids. They can get one off on you though if you switch to your Druid form, and if they do, you aren't able to just shift out and remove it like you can Polymorph, so watch out for that, and if you're fighting a Warlock with a Succubus, just try to spend as much time as you can in Cat form. Overall, Warlocks are probably my biggest counter. I do beat this Warlock you see in the footage in the background. This was after like 5 or 6 duels, and he didn't even sacrifice his Voidwalker, so he didn't actually use all of his options to beat me. If he had, probably would have won this duel as well. I find Shamans to be a bit of a wild card. It's a pretty even matchup. I don't find I win more than I lose against them. The only difference is if they're elemental, you want to treat them like a mage. If they're enhancement, you want to treat them like a warrior. The best thing about both of those is you can usually beat them in the mana game by making them run out of mana before you do. Just against an elemental shaman, make sure you're hitting those totems and doing anything you can to interrupt casts as much as possible. Against enhancement, like with a warrior, don't let them deal any melee damage to you outside of bear form. It's going to be a lot of damage really quickly, especially with those Wind Fury procs. Regarding paladins, I don't really have any footage of me fighting one, but what I have found against them is they seem to kind of just be less effective warriors. Their ability to heal and use mana is a blessing as well as a curse because it makes the fights very long and drawn out. But if you stay in bear form, they're not really going to be able to do enough damage to you to burn you down before you can heal up. Your goal is to just beat them in the mana game. Once they're out of mana, you can slowly peel them down. Obviously they have Laying On of Hands and their bubble, but if you've got Innervate off cooldown, you'll still have plenty of mana to beat them in the long game. Just make sure you're taking most of their hits in bear form and you really won't have a problem. You can just kind of play reactively against them. I've actually found Hunters to be a very funny matchup against a Druid, and the reason is because I beat most of the Hunters I came up against. But if a Hunter knows what he's doing, they will destroy you. The reason I say that is my brother specifically, I was playing this test with him. My brother's going to be playing WoW with me, and he mains a Hunter, and he knows what he's doing on his Hunter, and he beat me 100% of the time. Every single duel, he beat me, and I tried different tactics. I tried everything, keeping dots, trying staying from afar, which obviously doesn't work against the Hunter. I tried focusing on cat form, bear form, staying in his dead range. He was able to fake dead, put an ice trap down, and just do that enough times with scatter shot and everything that he beat me every single time. And so as of right now, I'm gonna just go ahead and say that if a Hunter knows how to play their class properly, they're going to hard counter you pretty badly. Something to watch out for too is, like, for example, a Hunter can fear beasts, so they can fear you if you're in cat or bear form. You can prevent this by shifting out right when you see him casting. It's not hard to do. I mean, if you see a Hunter casting a shadow spell, you know exactly what it is. But I'll let you know if I find out how to beat a Warlock and a Hunter, because as of right now, they're pretty hard countered for your class. So I hope you guys found this helpful against fighting these various classes. I do want to mention that throughout all of these duels, and the way I'm going to be playing Classic WoW, is I'm a Heart of the Wild spec. I've got my spec linked down below if you want to see how I put my talents. Something else to mention is that through all of these fights, I've tried to PvP in gear that focuses on crit and attack power, and it performed much worse against most classes. Like mages, for example, were able to do far more damage on me since I couldn't heal or switch forms to break out of their Frost Nova. Against Warlocks, I wasn't able to sustain myself without the heals, and same with against Hunters. So even though I'm doing less damage in my forms, it gives me more powerful dots because I get some more spell power on it, better heals, more shapeshifting. It's worth doing less damage in your melee forms if it means having the mana to switch back and forth and provide sustainable heals on yourself. So I personally recommend every druid bring leather healing gear with them wherever you go to PvP. Some other druids might suggest otherwise, and that's fine, they might have their reasons, but I personally have found it much more valuable to have healing gear with mana on it than attack power gear. Well, that's all I have for now. I personally am so excited to play druids when Classic WoW launches. I cannot wait to use this Heart of the Wild spec to go heal in dungeons, tank in dungeons, and then PvP with the same spec. But I hope you found this video useful. Can't wait to see you guys in Classic.